given any application, kind of research what would make sense for the H and the S. The range is measuring something similar to H, and so I think I'll just put the same thing for right now until and the main point here is that the application limits the range. So find the relative handicap first. If the general handicap is 10 and the slope rating is 125. So the relative handicap would be 1,250 divided by the 113. And you're getting 11.06. And if a person's general handicap was 0, so this is with 10 and 125, if the person's general handicap was 0 and the slope rating was 120, we are going to get 0. If the person's handicap was 20 and the slope rating was 100, we would get 2,000 over 113 and 2,000 over 113. Just about 17.7. Okay, so just thinking about that a little bit in terms of the like what happened here. This is a harder course. The person's general handicap was 10, and so their relative handicap went up a little bit, meaning they get more strokes because the course is harder. Notice if a person is already a scratch player, a player who, hits a solid score all the time, they don't get any benefit. Like theirs, it doesn't go up, and it's also not going to go down. That if you're a scratch player, then you should be able to handle the course even if it's harder, is kind of what they're saying. And then if your handicap's pretty high, but your course is a bit easier, okay, a general course slope rating is probably higher than 100. So the 100 is probably indicating an easier course, and so because the course is easier, the person's handicap goes down because your course is easier. That's kind of some things to sort of notice just about the outputs here. Okay, so what is it asking here? What's it asking us to do here?
Find the partial derivative.
Find the partial derivative with respect to h. So that means we're going to hold s as a constant and h as the variable. So if we do that, notice that s over 113 is, okay, the function, I didn't take the derivative yet, I'm just writing down the function. I would interpret the function as s over 113 times h, because it's just a linear function in terms of h. So the derivative with respect to h is just going to be s over 113. The derivative with respect to s is going to be h over 113. H over 113 is the slope with respect to s. And then if we plug in some points, if we plug these points into that derivative. My slope rating was the 125. So, when we get there. .106. And we'll write a sentence in a second. And then this value would be 10 over 113. 10 over 113. .088. Okay, so write a sentence interpreting the value of R sub h. So the relative, the relative handicap of a player or a golfer with a general handicap increases by 1.106 when the person's general handicap increases by 1 with a slope rating of 125. Okay, so here in terms of actually interpreting it, it was sort of important to include what the slope rating was, because as the different values of slope rating would make R sub h change. But the measurement is measuring the rate of change of R with respect to H. And so it's, you know, how is R changing as you change your general handicap? Whereas here, the relative handicap of a golfer with a general handicap of 10 is increasing by 0.088 as the slope rating increases by 1 from a value of 125. Okay, so that sentence is explaining that 0.088 is how much the relative handicap changes if we increase the slope rating of the course. But again, it was important to point out you're talking about somebody with a general handicap of 10. Somebody with a higher handicap, this is going to be a higher rate of change.